Hello everyone, and welcome to our channel. This is Black Cloud Travels, and my name is Doris. We have just left our camping spot at kilometer marker 221 on the Dempster Highway. I love to tell a story about how shortly after we had our dinner, a small little car pulled up in front of us. Inside of the car was a tall young man, red hair, very slight of build, and he meticulously started getting out all his gear and began to make his dinner. Without a picnic table, he poured some water into a little pot, put the pop on some kind of a burner, waited for the water to boil, got out a can, opened it up, and then his dinner started to cook, and he went inside his car and came out wearing a scarf and a hat, obvious protection from the mosquitoes that were just thick out there. So he waited for his dinner, and he waited and he waited, and after a little while, he dropped to the ground and started doing push-ups. Now, Frank and I both saw that, and I could see the look in Frank's eyes. This is a guy I want to talk to. So Frank went outside and began a conversation with this young man. Now, as I remember, he was about 26 years old and from Manitoba, and he came all by himself out to the Dempster and had in mind to drive it in his little car. Well, I was quite amazed at his courage and his perseverance and for his adventurous spirit. I mean, how many people do you know that get into their little car at the young age of 26, decide to drive halfway across the continent, and then drive up the Dempster just for something to do? I can learn a lot from that young man. Now, as you can see, the weather, again, is not with us today. There is rain, there is fog, there is mud, and it is not a good situation for being on the Dempster. And Frank and I, yes, we're both a little nervous. Now, in spite of the wet and rainy weather, the mosquitoes just did not let up. I mean, they are everywhere, outside of the camper, inside of the camper, and I learned to keep the fly swatter up in the front seat with me. The long handle basically made it easier to reach across and just give the window a good swat. Now, much to my surprise, I found out that they really loved to hide. And do you know where they wanted to hide all the time? In the window wells. In the front window, at the bottom, where it meets the dashboard, they would fly down there and basically wait until all was quiet, and then they would just flood out of there. Also, on the side, the passenger, and I imagine in the driver's side window too. So I would take the fly swatter with regularity and just kind of poke it down there, trying to scare out the mosquitoes so that they'd fly out and I could kill them all. Now again, I'm running the tape at a very fast level, so we are just buzzing by the countryside. Now to you, we are going fast all the time, but many of the times we're slowing down to 10, 15. And the mud you see there is very slick in some places, and if you're not careful, you can easily drop off the side of the road, and there's really no soft shoulder. You're in a gully if you slide off there. There is also not a lot of car traffic, but enough basically to keep you on your toes, because it's not a very wide road, and you basically have to get very close to your side in order to let the other guy go by. We see a lot of motorcycle drivers, and again, kudos to them, because it is a difficult trip inside a car, inside a camper. I cannot imagine what it's like to travel 1,000 kilometers all the way up and then back again. That would be a rough ride, but it's an adventure. So, seeing as we are not riding on motorcycles but in a camper, we are struggling to get past all this mud and this rain and the fog, because we realize how precarious the situation is. At any one time, any small little disaster and we would have turned around and gone back. It is not worth the financial loss of ruining your vehicle or being stuck or having to bring up a tow truck. You have to weigh your priorities here. So as long as the going looks good, you want to keep going. But you realize how thin that line is, and at any moment, something could happen, and you either have to stop or you have to stop and turn around and go back. And that is the end of your journey. So I enjoyed posting some information like the temperature, the sunrise, the sunset, and indeed earlier I did post the temperature, the highs and the lows for the day, but I cannot post the sunrise and sunset for you. And would you like to know why? Because there is no sunrise and sunset. That sun is up all day long. Mind you, not as intense. And later in the evening, it gets twilightish, but it is virtual daylight all the time. Now, Frank and I, as far as we can tell through our research, the Eagle Plains Hotel is basically the closest you're going to get to one-stop shopping on the Dempster Highway. It's halfway between Dawson City and Inuvik, and it is only 35 kilometers from the Arctic Circle. It has a licensed dining room, gift shop, gas, diesel, unleaded, propane, tire repair, minor repairs. It has a lounge, it has a laundromat, full camping facilities, showers, road service, tow truck. It's open year-round, and the elevation is 2,360 feet. So, if we're going to shelter in this very inclement weather, the Eagle Plains Hotel is a good place to do so. So here we are coming up on our stop for the night, the Eagle Plains Motel. It's 12:30 in the afternoon and time for lunch. That brings us to a close of our Day 2 drive up the Dempster Highway. Thank you for joining us, and I invite you to join us on Day 3. Bye-bye.